in very challenging times right now. And it's affecting all of us. I mean, nobody thought we'd have to be looking at the possibility that there may not be a future for planet Earth to maintain life, you know, under the circumstances that we've created. And it's like, whoa, never been here before. This is serious, and this is uncomfortable, and I feel a lot of sorrow and concern, but that I just want to say, this is where I go to people like the Michael Meads. We all came with gifts to give, and the universe, Brian Swim, Thomas Berry, the universe story reveals the universe works through energy. So what energizes you? And stay with that, and just give. That's your guideline, and take creative initiative to remedy the situation. You know, if it's a letter you're writing, or adapt it so that you can address it in your own locale, but just do something to remediate the situation. This is a project that a group of us spent a year planning, and then we ran for 12 years through the Foundation for Global Community. We've gotten all these requests from all over the country and outside the country. Well, we want to get to know the bioregion we live in, and can you help us start that process? And that's when we decided, well, we better write something. We don't want to send a boring old written curriculum. That wouldn't, you know, something with pictures and to activate their imagination and realize. And Aldo Leopold, he said at the end of his life, he realized that people, we've migrated all over this planet, and we've ended up in places where we weren't deeply imprinted as a young person. And we don't have a real feel for what the nature of this place is. But he said it was his experience, if people got to know the nature of the place where they live, they will care for it. So we said, let's put that program on. We'll go out for a whole year, experience it in every season, let it imprint us, but we'll go with wonderful guides who really know about the deep time geologic story, the weather and climate patterns, the flora and fauna, and you know, just everything about this place, and their own experience of it. Thomas Berry actually said that Earth does not articulate and express itself in a global sameness. It is one Earth, but it expresses itself in unique bioregions. So get to know the nature of your unique bioregion and start living within that and caring for it.
My name is Angelika Mangold, and I'm here in Austria, in a little village by the Lake of Constance, where I was born and where I live at the minute. I am a landscape architect and a nature connection worker, and my passion is to create frameworks for people in which they can really open up to themselves and open up to others and to the living world around them. I am sitting here in the backyard of my office today with some river stones in my hand. I brought them with me today because they taught me something very important. They taught me that the more I appreciate how I am different to everybody else on the planet, the more I get the feeling of true belonging. And I want to share this little insight, a very personal insight with you today, because I believe that our personal challenges and our personal well-being is very much connected to the challenges and to the well-being of the whole planet, or of us as a whole community. So I practice and I teach to people methods of how they can feel more grounded, more safe, more at home and more alive through interaction with nature. And all these methods and practices come from very wise teachers, and they're always very joyful and rich experiences when I do them myself or when I do them with my students. It's things like meditating in nature, or bird watching, or writing poetry in nature, or trekking. And in recent times, I myself, I felt still something is missing here for myself personally, because I had the feeling I still try too hard. I'm still on the search for something. I always need a lot of energy to go out and do these things, and I always want something from them, you know. I want to get something back, and I put myself doing that, and I look and I wait for the outcome. And I also still had this feeling of not truly belonging, you know, of still finding something that gives me more safety, more community. And then I had this little very nice experience by a river, where I just spent one afternoon, and where I lied on my belly, and I started looking at stones, little river stones, their shapes and their distinct colors, and the way they feel when I took them in my hands. And then I remembered that this is something I really loved doing already when I was a kid. And I stood up and started walking very slowly with my head bent down, you know, everything bent down like an old person. I walked there along this river, just looking at stones, and I was amazed. And I started singing my own weird melodies along with the river. And I really had this feeling of peace. And I had this feeling of truly being myself, and at the same time truly being connected to everybody and everything around me. You know, this kind of feeling where you actually lose yourself a bit. And I felt also stress and anger and fear released from my body in this time, and I felt my batteries really recharged. And then back home I wondered, why did I forget doing this? You know, why did this practice got lost? And I was just too busy with doing things other people found good or told me that would help, instead of listening to my own inner truth. And so I thought, maybe you don't need to do this detour I did. Maybe you can already start by your inner truth and your inner passion. No matter if it's so weird that you don't find it in any book, or that no other person will understand it, I encourage you to look for that very special thing. Because when I was by the river and did this, I felt this is the right place to start. No matter where this leads me, it will always be right. Because it brings me joy and it brings me energy. And it gives me this feeling of connection and peace, which I know from my childhood. So I want to ask you, do you have any special memory of your childhood where you remember you felt totally at ease out in nature, where you lose time, where you lose yourself, where you experience full joy and peace? Or do you know that not from childhood, but from your practices now? What is this thing that you do out in nature or with nature that truly delights you? It may be weird things, you know. For my dad, it is digging holes with spades. For other people, it may be watching at stars or watching stones. And I really encourage you to be brave enough to listen deep inside of you and to really find out the thing you are most different from others. Because I think nature gifted us with biodiversity, and if we start to honor and express this biodiversity, then the world gets a very abundant and rich and colorful place. And I also encourage you not to only find it for yourself, your difference, but also to look in others. Like when you meet other people, maybe you don't no more longer start looking for sameness, or what do I share with this person, or where are we in the same kind of mood, or where are we the same, but you rather look, how is this person very different from me, and how does that enrich my life? And maybe you don't believe it now, but you could try it out. Usually this brings the biggest feeling of truly belonging to each other. Yeah. So I wish you good luck by your journey of searching differences and specialness and weirdness, and by expressing and celebrating it together with others.
To get you started off on your nature journal habit, I just wanted to share some inspirations of my mini journals. So when I started off, this is back in 2009, it was certainly super easy to start. I actually just traced this leaf and then I filled in the colors. And to make nature journaling even easier, I even, there were times when I would actually grab the flower or the plant and actually just tape it right inside my nature journal. Of course, I love doing landscapes. Sometimes I add some poetry in there. Also, I love doing maps. And of course, and this is, you know, I find interesting things in nature that I don't really know what they are, like a gull, and so I'll come home and research them and journal them and put them in and explore and learn more about maybe the acorns or the gulls or different plants in my own community. And of course, I love journaling my different trips, adventures, going different places so I can remember hikes and camping trips that I've taken. And I record, you know, all sorts of wind and temperature and light and smells. And the reward is not just the finished page, but the process you took to slow down and view and understand the nature around you and to remember it better. I would invest in a nice bound journal book you can buy that has paper thick enough to hold what's called a light watercolor wash. If you get something lighter paper, it may not handle watercolor if you want to do watercolor, and watercoloring is pretty magical if you've ever worked with it. And so if you're going to do watercolor, just, you know, you can buy almost any watercolor set. And then when you do watercoloring in the field, I like to use Jack's method of the sock, which is you take, you get a water paintbrush that has the water built into the brush, and you can simply put it, get the paint, apply it to your picture, and then to rinse, you simply wash and push the water through the thing, and now you have a clean watercolor brush, which you can't do with trying to balance a cup of water on your leg. So basic watercolor brush, sock, watercolor kit, and nicely bound journal. When I'm ready to go, I just grab it off the door, and I'm out the door and out in nature, and I've got it with me, accessible all the time, 24/7. You can journal anywhere. On your next neighborhood walk, gather a set of acorns or leaves, or bring them back to the house to journal. These local items are the best items to journal. They give you a better sense of place that is local to help you feel connected. I'm going to fill in the basic patterns that I see on the leaves and the veins, how they kind of are connected here. I don't have to be exact, but close enough. Fill in my gaps here, and grab now my watercolor paintbrush with the a water-filled one, and I have my sock that I've created by mixing different colors here for my palette. And if I need to get a little bit of water off, compare it with my leaf. And it's kind of dark green, maybe with some, clean out the watercolor brush. See a little bit of yellow veins that I maybe want to put on, so I'll grab some yellow. You might want to let the watercolor dry a little bit before you do this, but just to show you how you can quickly change colors with this brush. And notice how you could do this while sitting down. And I like to kind of finish my drawing with maybe a little bit of blue around the outside of the item, just to give it a little more finished look. And maybe I lastly want to border my element in my journal with some notes, and maybe I'll add some text here. Oak tree leaf. I always measure the quality of my summer by the number of nights I spend in a sleeping bag under the stars. So hopefully you can start your habit, nature journaling today, and you too can end up with a journal set like this. Have fun.
Hello, my name is Wendolyn Bird, and it's really nice to be here with you and to share with you a simple practice that facilitates a beautiful, deeper connection to one's own nature, developing a relationship with one's own nature, and then expanding that out to develop a deeper relationship to the natural world in a slow, easy, simple way. This practice can take 1 minute, or it can take 20 minutes, as long as or as short as you would like. And it's like this. We're utilizing our 5, well, I'll say 6 senses. Our eyes, ears, mouth, nose, touching, and sensing, noticing our feelings. So wherever you are, this can be done. First, we begin in the home, and allow yourself to just get still, relaxed in your body, and take your eyes and let them just scan where you are. Let them look up, look down, look all around, and take in what you see. And in that taking in, just notice. Notice it, see it. Do you see anything new that you've never seen before? Do you see things that you like? Things you're startled about? Oh, I didn't know. I never look up, and in the corner there's this spider. Who knows how long it's been there? Again, just notice and allow, and then move on to the next sense. Here we'll go to our ears. The beautiful thing about ears is that we can focus on one side or the next, and we can stretch them. Like really, you can stretch your ears, saying, ooh, I want to hear as far as I can. Notice how far away you can hear within the building you're in, how close, this side, that side, all around. Notice, are there sounds you like, but you have forgotten that they're even there because they're there all the time? Things that actually, when you really listen to it, is a little annoying. Notice your sensations. Do you get hot? Do you get cold when you listen to it? Do you feel contracted? Do you feel, relaxed? Is it irritating? Is it pleasurable? Again, just allow, just notice. Do the same thing with your nose. Breathing in. Wow, the garbage needs to be taken out. Oh, I'm so glad I light that incense every day. Or there's that beautiful flower I brought in the house that I love to smell. Or whatever the smells are or aren't. Notice, allow, experience in the moment, and then let it go and move on. Touching. Wow, how do my hands feel? Are they dry? Are they smooth? How do they feel? How do your clothes feel on your skin? If you're standing, wow, do you feel the ground? Sitting, do I like how this feels? Do I not like how this feels? Being in the moment, noticing again, how does it all feel? Do I like it? Do I not like it? And then letting go. Taste. Do you taste anything? Did you just brush your teeth, drink coffee, have a beautiful croissant? Whatever it is, notice that. Experience it in the moment. Be aware of it and let it go. And then you can go outside the front door. Take one step out, utilizing all those senses. Be with the environment, the difference between inside and outside. Being in the present moment, feeling, tasting, touching, sensing. How is that? Is there something brand new you've never seen, you've never noticed before, you've never felt? And then let it all go and move about your day. And in so doing, if you continue to do this practice, and you can do it anytime, anywhere. It can take 2 seconds. Let's say you're sitting in an office. Wow, What do I really hear? What do I really smell? What do I really see? Slowing down, bringing consciousness and awareness to the environment you're in to deepen a relationship consciously with that outside, deepening the relationship of what is around you, probably all the time. That builds up and builds up after time. Have a huge bounty of awareness. I hope you have fun playing with this and discovering new dimensions and things that you might not have ever noticed or been aware of within yourself and within your environments. Thank you for the opportunity to share. I really appreciate it.
A number of years ago, I came up with the concept for exploring sense of place as a program. While I was on a field seminar studying wilderness education, natural history, and ecology of California mountains, and traveling throughout the coastal range and the high Sierra, I came to understand the flora and fauna around me based upon the geography, the geology, the weather and climate patterns, and how they shaped the landscape and created the reality that I was experiencing. And when I came back to suburban and urban neighborhoods, I realized that in every yard was a whole different ecosystem that was just created by whoever it was that lived there and decisions that they were making about what they wanted to plant. And how at a certain level it's so confusing for animals, certainly that live in that ecosystem, but also humans as well, as we've evolved over thousands and thousands of years to be connected to place and understanding how systems work within a given ecosystem. I think it's important for us to understand that the reality that we experience today and how we live as humans, as seeing ourselves as completely separate from the landscapes in which we live, and disconnected from an understanding of what weather and climate do to a place and how they're formulated by geography and by geology and the resulting flora and fauna that live in a place based upon all that's going on there. And that we are not really wired to live that way. We're not really evolved as humans to live in separation from place, in separation from the natural environment around us, nor to actually see ourselves as separate from that reality and separate from that level of connection. And what we've come to find over the years is that we are making choices in the way that we live and how we structure our economies, how we structure our social networks, our travel, even the basics of our food, have profound impacts upon the places in which we live, both on local ecologies of place, but also on the larger scale of looking at what happens throughout our planet. And so there's never been a time that's been more important for us to find ways to connect, to reconnect to environments that sustain us, that support us, in which we live. And it can start off with small things of what's right out your door. It doesn't have to be going out into the larger world and getting into wilderness areas or doing multi-day backpack trips or river trips or things like that. But just taking in, who are the migratory birds that are coming through my area? What sort of change do I see in plant life in terms of when leaves change, in terms of what grows where, looking at north-facing, south-facing slopes, all sorts of possibilities out there. And we'll find that one thing leads to the next, and that as you uncover these small interactions within your ecosystem, they emerge into understanding deeper connections that happen throughout time. Most importantly, I think, it is to find times that are just enjoyable to be out, enjoyable to connect, to start with what you're drawn towards rather than what you're trying to push yourself into understanding. Because once we're drawn to something, it just builds from there and becomes much more interesting and much more intricate and much more complex over time. And there's joy and beauty that's found in that. But to start with the simpleness of what's outside your door. Enjoy.